Over the last couple of days, the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution and the Attorney General's Office have been involved in a public spat over the process of implementation. We are here at Delta House today to talk to the Chairman of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, Mr. Charles Kachai, to ask him why this discourse? Why do people seem to misunderstand your role? And why are you called an advisor by the Attorney General's Office? We'll also ask him to give us a scorecard, his scorecard, of the implementation process so far. My name is Eric Latif. Come with me. The general flow of things.
That sounds fair.
Right. Charles Kachai, thank you very much for making time for us. Let's start with thrashing out the issues immediately. Okay. 17 months into the Constitution, how would you rate the implementation progress so far?
I would rate the implementation process so far, taken in its entirety, as good progress. Where good progress means that there is a category above that, which we haven't quite achieved, which we have the opportunity to work towards. But it's by no means it by no means falls into the category that sometimes we appear to think that you know that we are not doing well. I think we've done well. By the nature of the process, and particularly bearing in mind it's a process that as a country we haven't done before, we will inevitably have had to face certain challenges, and we expect that we will still face certain challenges, most of which we have been able to overcome. And the other thing is that a lot of what is in the public arena is really that which attracts attention, maybe because there is interest perhaps from politicians and so on, but actually what's in the public arena from CIC's perspective probably comprises about 20% of our work. In the public arena in the sense of day to day. Of course, from the quarterly reports, the public will be able to see the global picture.
What do you see as your role in this implementation process vis-a-vis the role of the other organs? For example, the Cabinet, the line ministries, the Attorney General's Office and the Kenya Law Reform Commission.
The starting point, of course, has to be the Constitution.
Yes.
And by and large, our mandate is carried out at the two levels that I talked about. The level of the development of legislation that implements the Constitution. Mm-hmm. There is a laid out process which involves the Kenya Law Reform Commission, the Attorney General, CIC, and then of course Parliament to pass. Now, together, it was necessary to now beef out what the Constitution provides for, because of course Kenya Law Reform Commission cannot wake up one morning and
come up with a law.
So of course we have to beef that by originating it from the principal implementer, which is the executive, and which would have, in an ideal situation, developed policies based on which the bills will be developed. So that we had come up with a system where the executive, through the line ministry, develops a particular policy, comes up with a draft, passes that on to the Kenya Law Reform Commission, who develops that into a bill. The Kenya Law Reform Commission now shares this with the Attorney General, and then the two of them together are required by Constitution now to work with CIC. So CIC, in the developed process, then has the opportunity to review those drafts. Mm-hmm. And of course, in reviewing, apart from our own internal review, the technical bit, we also required by the Constitution to ensure that there is a public participation in this process. part of the public participation will, in an ideal situation, have been at the initial stages when the line ministry was developing the policy and the draft. But now the bill that is going to go before Parliament, it's our responsibility also to ensure that it has undergone public participation. Then again, having reviewed and undertaken public participation, again we converge with the Constitution implementation partners, the Kenya Law Reform Commission and the Attorney General and the Line Ministry, so that we finalize this document, which then now moves to the Attorney General to do his constitutional role of moving it now onto the next level of Parliament. Now, in between there, of course, again, in the process of beefing out, it was recognized that at the end of the day, the executive takes responsibility, and in the system we currently have, the executive will be promoting and defending that draft in Parliament. Yeah. So it makes sense for the cabinet to be involved in. Yeah. The only issue is that involvement of the cabinet should not disrupt the constitutional process. And that is why, again, we agreed on a system where the Cabinet Subcommittee on Implementation of the Constitution invites CIC when it is considering the bill before taking it to the main cabinet meeting for approval. And then again, if the main cabinet meeting makes any material changes, again, in order to be able to comply with the Constitution, the route back is through what we call a post-cabinet review by a CIC and the Attorney General. Then it goes to Parliament. Now, Parliament is at liberty, as long as what is doing is not in violation of the Constitution. Anything else, Parliament is at liberty. And that is why there are things Parliament has changed in many bills. But as long as they don't touch on constitutionality, we may disagree with them, but that is the privilege of Parliament. They
have the mandate to do it.
They have their mandate.
So in this process, the way you describe it, it sounds like the CIC, the Attorney General, the Kenya Law Reform Commission are equal partners.
Yeah. The way I would put it, each of them, and particularly the Attorney General and CIC, each of them has a role to play, which one, the other cannot play, and two, the other cannot move the process without this other one. That's why I like to view it that, like, the Constitution put us in one bed, so you can't jump out of it. You have to deal together. You have to work in harmony, and the thing is, I think a problem arises if we think of these things hierarchical, because an oversight mandate, for example, CIC having an oversight mandate on implementation of the Constitution, does not place CIC above those who are implementing. So when CIC, for example, tells the president, that is not what the Constitution says, you can't do that, that doesn't place CIC above the president. It is just that, in the same way, whoever you are, if you're driving along the road and you're speeding, and the policeman tells you, hey, you're overspeeding, it's not a question of that policeman being above you. It's just that he has a distinct role, or she has a distinct role to play. Of pointing out and requiring you to, because ultimately, and I think this is the most important point, ultimately, all of us are carrying out constitutional functions on behalf of the people of Kenya. So that in terms of hierarchy, the only body which is above everybody else and to whom we are all answerable are the people of Kenya who have expressed their collective will through the Constitution of Kenya.
You started, this process. a couple of months back.
Yeah.
At that time, we had more or less the same cabinet ministers, we had the same members of cabinet, we had the same parliament, we had a different attorney general. Now we have a different attorney general. Do you still think it's the same comfort zone that you're talking about, that, for example, would make you talk about Amos Wako in the same way you're talking about Professor Keith Muigai?
If you look back at your records, the issues that we had with Amos Wako were very specific. They were more to do with delays and you know, in some cases an element of they had two things, more to do with the delays and the process of aligning or rather how we would align the process involving cabinet. That took a lot of time to sort out. And bear in mind that the under Article 261(4), the Attorney General is central in this. So those were the issues that we had with the former Attorney General. The issues that we currently have with the Attorney General appear to be more fundamental insofar as the process is concerned, and the whole role of implementation is concerned. If you want my take on that, without fueling the existing public discourse, which I hope we will overcome in the next couple of days, but I don't want to avoid your question. I think it is reflective of the forces that, even from the very beginning of this process, the forces that sought to slow down the process, to delay the process, ideally for them even to derail it completely. I think those forces regrouped as the implementation process went along, and they realized what it meant to them. And I think that it is those forces that are manifesting themselves in what appears to us to be the regressive approach now of going back to the issues that we had overcome. And of course, whichever way, the Attorney General is central in this, whether it was Amos Wako, whether it was Keith Muigai, the Attorney General is central in the process of the movement of the legislative development from CIC to Parliament. And by the way, that, in terms of the current public discourse, that to me is the lesser problem, because that you know, the Constitution, as far as we are concerned, is clear, and this had been agreed by all the implementation partners. What is of greater concern, insofar as that public dispute is concerned, is the scenario where, in the review or the oversight mandate of the administrative procedures that seek to implement the Constitution right across the public sector, in a situation where we had reached a situation where everybody, every government ministry, first of all, we reached an agreement with the Office of the President, the head of the Public Service, and met with all the permanent secretaries. The head of the Public Service actually agreed and was gracious enough to send out a CIC circular on that process under his hand, so that it made it easier for the civil service to work with. This was again way back in April last year. So we have then, since then, on that process of administrative procedures, I mean, everybody else Even those that traditionally you would have expected resistance, everybody else has been cooperating. I mean, the same process is right from the cabinet office, the office of the prime minister, even offices that traditionally under the old constitutional order would probably have presented some resistance, like the military are cooperating, because we are talking about implementation of the constitution, not their operational issues which have nothing to do with us. Even the intelligence service, again, we're not concerned with their operational issues. We're talking about implementation of the constitution. All of them, everybody has been cooperating. And that's the 80. In fact, it's probably more than the 80%. So as I sit here before you today, the only office which is resisting that is the office of the Attorney General.
Now, do you think, as you say, as we come to wind up, everybody else has been cooperating? You have a couple of problems, a couple of hiccups here and there with different departments over time. Do you think the CIC has any role to play in terms of getting misunderstood, getting these hurdles in place? Do you think the CIC is too rigid?
I always say this, and I'll say it again. Our understanding of our mandate in a nutshell gives us only two reference points. One is the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The other is the best interests of the people of Kenya. The other thing I keep saying, even in all these public discourses, like the current one that we're having with the Attorney General, first of all, the people of Kenya have a legitimate right to have this information and to be involved in this discourse. In fact, for us, we have a constitutional imperative to report to the people of Kenya. So those who say to us that, you should not be out there in the media, you should not be having these public discussions, those I say, I'm sorry, but the Constitution requires us to be to do that. And secondly, these are public issues. These are not issues of disagreement between the Attorney General and CIC, or between the Attorney General and Charles J. Chai. And then the other thing, I say it's very important in this new constitutional dispensation that we do not demonize public discourse. It's very important that people are able to engage, as long as we do this on the issues and as long as we do this in a manner that is mutually respectful. I think it should not be discouraged. Now, to answer your question, my priority is not, or my mandate, our mandate, is not so much an issue of agreeing with any particular partner in the process for the sake of an agreement. It is, I have no choice. CIC has no choice but to work with the Attorney General, for example. Yeah? But we have no choice but to work with the Attorney General in terms of the Constitution. There is no other way that we can work with him. So, back to your question. If CIC, in the manner in which we are saying we are required to work with the Attorney General or with any other office holder, one of the advantages or the reasons why this matter is in the public domain is so that anybody, any Kenyan, any organ, including the media, is able to say to us, CIC, you're wrong. What I would expect to see in editorials, yeah? What I would expect to see from columnists and commentators is not to tell me or to tell CIC that you must resolve your differences with the Attorney General. That's important because we have a constitutional obligation to work together. So that must be done. But I expect them to tell me, you know what, on this you're right, or on this CIC you're wrong because the Constitution says 1, 2, 3. That's what will help us to move forward. So it would be very difficult to expect us, and it would really be a violation of our oath of office for us to concede to agreement just to avoid a public spat if that agreement does not comply with the Constitution. And I keep telling people this, yeah. If the Attorney General is my friend and people say, go and have a cup of tea with him or lunch with him, that I can do anytime. But if I was to go and sit with him and we reach an agreement which is in violation of the Constitution or against the interests of the people of Kenya, then I think we will have failed in our work, and we will not have served the people of Kenya.
Thank you very much.
Asante.